Bidet critters, new and old, my name is David and this is Mana and Maple and today's video is the lore video. I know that I missed a week, but I've had a lot of problems with my computer and the recording thereof, but I think I have it figured out, and I'm back for what I'm going to call Lore Friday. This has been updated to include episode 3. There are obvious spoilers in here, but we aren't covering much narratively. It is just building blocks of the world of Ahriman. If you enjoy the videos, I would love a like and subscribe. If you think I'm moving too fast, remember that this document is pinned inside my Discord. If you want to update the lore document, there are 3 ways to do so. First, comment on the video. You guys are doing a great job with that anyway, and I really appreciate all the interactions. Second, join the Discord. It's a faster way to get a hold of me overall, and you can access the document there. Third is become a Patreon, because at certain tiers you have the ability to comment directly on the document or even make changes yourself based on your wants and needs. All of it helps out. All of it helps me continue to make content for you guys, and I appreciate it. This is a labor of love, and I can't do it without the small community that we have built so far. But anyways, onto the video proper. I have changed the layout of this. This started off as a slideshow, and I have moved on into a Google Doc. And I went this way because I could have document tabs, so I have all these tabs down the side over here. I want to reiterate, this is a labor of love, and if I missed anything, please let me know. This is a complicated 59-page document. I want to first give appreciations to Michael Van Elgort 3345, Joel Young NPA, Mark Davies 3700, and Ephraim Verkane 7265. These 4 people have been very vocal on corrections to my lore documents, and very awesome with very awesome at engaging at the comment level, and I really appreciate it. Things we're going to be going over is places and geography, organizations, and houses. Thiazi Fang and the people who came to mourn him. It really hasn't changed. That list is really expanded, and you'll see in a little bit. I've added magic items and errata, and then loose connections and possible quest lines. We've learned a few more things. Kavrosi is the range of mountains that the peak of Kavros sits in west of Domakyar, and the Valmar Pass is the pass that passes through there. We know the Sunset Mountains, that is a place where pink quartz is mined. In Domakyar, a lot of this is on the older side. It's just written and printed up in a new place. I think that we learned of the Arcanod in this, in episode 2 specifically. And we saw the Pentaveral more as well. We learned of Marud as well. The Embers is a new neighborhood as of episode 2. And the description of Caravan Hill has expanded as well. We learned of Luzgash, Ruzagar, Mirzash, Marud as other neighborhoods overall. And I think that as we move into the neighborhoods themselves, we learned a lot. Actually, in episode 3, we learned a lot about the Dithyram of Asgra. This ancient amphitheater was used by Asgra to reign over his people as they prostrated themselves or propitiated below him. The seat of a shaper was defaced by the rebels in that fight so that his holy symbols could not be used to cast bane on the population of the people rebelling against him. Now the Dithyram is the Hollowed Round, which is Hal's theater space with a massive gnarled cedar tree. We learned down in the Tanners of Obramus Manor, which is the home of House Taconis in Domakyar, and it's probably to hide the smell of their troops. In the Arcanod, we learned of the massive multi-winged museum in the Lugzash neighborhood near the headwaters of the River Vrosh. It was summoned into being by druids of the Old Path at the conclusion of the Shapers' War. We know about the Loy Ring, the Loy Wing, dedicated to the impact the Loy family had on the War of the Shapers, with a pariah sword, an actual pariah sword, on display. And then in episode 3, we learned of the Lyceum, which is a space where the theater students were allowed to practice and put on plays by Bolaire. We learned of Rosagar, which is the tangled sheet. We find the tangled sheet in that district, and that's a brothel owned by or run by Madame Gurlistra, and Julian frequents it. And then we also learned of Palazzo Divinos, the home of House Roy's and the Divinos in this faraway city. In the Embers, the Pentaveral is actually located on the border of Rosagar and the Embers and is made of gorgeous red sandstone and pink quartz, and has these beautiful covered bridges for familiars, which I think is really cool. And then inside the Embers as well, we have Underwallen and Sisters, which is a Wainwright in the Embers that Casimir would build custom wagons for. Down in Caravan Hill, we have the Guard Tower, which is frequented by the Crow Keepers. And then we have Mirzash, which is where the Via Aurora is. That's a palatial estate with off-white stone. And I first saw they like hallways with gold stained panes that alchemically boost the sun. We learned about the Agramok Marketplace, which is an opulent marketplace full of fine silks, foodstuffs, and wares located near Via Aurora. This is the home of the Loy family, or where the Loy family originates, and where they built the weapons that killed the gods. We also learn of the Mercanad Couturier, a tailor shop, which is the front for a pair of brothers who get rid of problems for House Halavar. Marud is the highest district of the district or neighborhood of Dol Makyar, and falcons tend to rest and hunt from this district due to its cliff-like feel. The Fray is also known to be not too far away from the Rookery, or I think more specifically from the Dithyram of Asgra. Outside of Dol Makyar, we learned of more about the Oberdemian Empire, which is the seat of the royal house of Oberdemia, and they worship Tansul, the shaper of the sun. House Halavar was a priest house in the empire. Loza and Tior, both of the Torn Banner, helped other mercenary companies, possibly in an advisory position. After the death of Tansul, it was cast into eternal darkness. We also learned about Dol Rungya. That J-A is a Ya sound, and I'm getting used to it. The city of rolling vineyards, orchards, and big farms. Loza is retiring here because the Loy family has always treated the Blades well, and we learn that the Circle of Ancients may be based in that area. We learn of the Wastes more definitively in episode 2. It's the home of the elves, but it's also a land of death and decay. We have some unnamed sundered lands, which popped up in episode 2. Unessa was talking about them, as well as the Barrow-Dells, which was a byproduct of the Shapers' War. We learned that Venetus is a city many weeks away. The Pit is where the demons come from. Timony is a region up north, and Gormalay is a city in the region of Timony, where the stronghouse that Casimir bought is, and there's also a Halavar temple. We can finish up with chapter 1. Chapter 2, Taconis. I'm trying not to spoil too heavily anything. I want to do a narrative wrap up on Monday. But Taconis is a necromantic house. The feel of those guys is just so death and decay and necromancy. The traditional lands of Taconis sit halfway between Stormwrack and Eternal Night. Taconis is a family who has been gifted death and the rites of cremation, given them much power. Their castle is halfway between the mortal realm and the halls of the dead. We met Etherin Taconis, Primus Taconis, and we learned that they have, again, a house in the Tanners. Halavar. We spent a lot of time in Halavar. We've learned a lot about Halavar specifically. Halavar hails from the lands of Oberdemia. They were second only to the House of the Royals. They worshipped Tansil, the Shaper of Sun. When the Shaper fell, the family of Halavar was hunted, with many of the members of the family killed outright. Yanessa was a young girl when that happened, and she also found Atheon, the fallen angel. The Halavars fell back on to trade to rebuild their empire, but Yanessa used the blood of the angel, ritual, and the wish spell to wish for a child, who is Goddard. Um, the Halavar family has been modifying people and animals with liquid filament for decades, probably 10, like maybe 50 years. Um, they also use the Menad Couturier to dispose of problematic people. Um, yeah, the Halibars are up to some wonky nonsense. Um, we learned that again. Atheon is a 30-foot tall angel in a Iron Maiden that has taps coming out of him, and that the liquid filament is his um his not blood, it's spit, it's who he is, what makes him up, and that's just wild. It's just wild. Um, we met Uncle Thelonious. We may met Lady Zaboni Halavar, which is Wick's older sister. We also met Agony and Cruelty. It looks like Cruelty works with Lady Zaboni Halavar, Zabani Halavar, and they both work down in the Prismatic Retort. The Royce family, it is tradition in the Royce family to gift Fey protectors. Under the guidance of General Raimon, Royce is searching for Octus, and as of episode 3, they found him. They are not native to Dol Makyar, and so they get resupply caravans, and that was stopped in the Devalmar Pass. And this current theory is no longer good. Oh, I gotta change that. We learned about more about Einfausen. Their known member is Sir Herondus Einfausen, a knighted lord. And then Cormoré, one thing that we learned about it in this episode that I didn't write down, and I don't actually have a keyboard right now, is they make crappy wine. The minor horses, the House of Davinos was a vassal house, or is a vassal house to Royce, and they were headed up by General Ramon Davinos, who is, as of episode 3, deceased. Sorry to say. During the Falconers' Rebellion, it seems that General Ramon, at the very least, did not join his liege lord, and at the very most sided with Thiazi because Thiazi saved Julian's cousin or his nephew. We also learned that Palazzo Davinos is an open estate with many plants that do not belong to the world of Aramon and actually come from Tir Kruthir instead. The Loya family is Orcish smiths, and they built the Pariah blades and the weapons that killed Asgore the Conqueror, Shaper of War. It sounds like their home is all over the place. They originated from the Ogremach marketplace, but they live currently, I think, what I understood, in Dolrunya, and where the Circle of Ancients are. And I've noticed that a lot of the rest of the world is full of despair and drought and eternal darkness and eternal storms, and the orc land is filled of life and abundance. And I think that has more to do with the old path than it does the god who died here. We learned of Grandmama, who is not actually a grandma, but is many generations removed, and maybe the oldest member of the Circle of Ancients. The Maltaires haven't really changed. Egerine hasn't changed. Tag 65. I didn't catch and I couldn't find the name of Ebecca's family that Yanessa Halavar wanted Wick to marry, so that the elixir or a chemical compound that comes from the fruit of their land can be added to the filament to make it last longer or go to more places. Organizations. I've added the Candescent Creed. Filament is the substance that we learn lets people touch the light. Wick has it tattooed on his face. It's costly to touch, and it's actually angel blood. And then I'm trying to keep track of the 7 shining tenants, but I'm not doing so well. The Revolutionary Guard is a shell of what it once was. Gate Guards, Revolutionary Guard, Patrolmen, and Arcane Marshals are all part of the Guard itself, and the Guard works out of Brethren Hall. We learned that the Revolutionary Council, because of the Chamber of Lords Advisory, has started removing funds from the Revolutionary Guard to privatize part of that military, and that was no bueno, no good, no good. Um, Chamber of the Lords advisory to the Revolutionary Council. I in here refer to them as RC Cola because it's Revolutionary Council, and I think it's actually not Chamber of the Lords, but it's Chamber of Lords Advisory to the Revolutionary Council. So it's COLARC, RC Cola. And that's just on me, and that's because my mind works in patterns. It's why I like making these videos, but it is neither here nor there. We know that Sir Herondus Einfausen is a member of that. The Crow Keepers. We finally met the Crow Keepers. They behave more like the mob. Solomon was the guild master, but Valus killed him, and they have a gibbet that keeps track of money owed. The Crow Keepers are slightly based out of the guard tower where Gavri, I think I misspelled that name. I'll have to go back and check that. That's on me. The Torn Banner, they were given clemency, but disbanded as part of that clemency agreement at the end of the Falconers rebellion. In Broken Wing, we learned that Loza gave the physical Torn Banner to Teor Pridesire, and we met some more people inside there. The Pentaveral, just checking time. The Pentaveral, located near the borders of two neighborhoods, Rosagar and the Embers. It was a college nestled into a city hidden away in an oasis of color in the dreary tones of Dol Makyar. We know that the Chamber of Lords of RC Cola is trying to remove Dean Tallbarrel, effectively blackmailing him. Terrible. It's awful. Demons. Demon Prince is a deal set up with Halavar. Keshravi, the Prince of Demonkind and the Shadow of Suffering, is the maker of tyranny, cruelty, agony, and enmity, and in exchange he gets filament and souls. The demons are here to help House Halavar hypnotize the masses and spread the faith. And then we have the Arcanaud. The Arcanaud is a multi-wing museum, and we met two NPCs in there, which are Spiro and Rosadella, though both are archivists for the Loy Wing, specifically for Bolaire. Put the species up top because we learned some more. Demons are from the pit and they're working with House Halavar specifically. Halflings, their ancient language was called Kessian, and their lands were ruled by Rowan the Trickster. We learned more about Osgro the Conqueror, Shaper of War, in the last two episodes, so I've been able to add that. We also learned why the door to Fairy is closed. I didn't add that in, but the door to Fairy was closed because the amount of souls in the world, because there was no gods to shepherd the death to the lands beyond, became too much, and were heading to Tir Kruthi to Fairy, and the door had to be shut, or else Fairy would have died. Taisha is currently on her way to a very bad situation, and we learn that she is she can shape change into wild shape into a druid. She really hasn't used a lot of other spells. She was asked to retrieve, unknown to her, the Coffin Obolad from Venetus by Thiazi. And she and Taconis made not quite a friendship, but Octus has a feel to him that makes people want to be his mother, which I think is odd. She also touched the mask that was inside the coffin of Obolad and briefly died. Landel Fang, he's protective of his family, threatens Valus. He currently has a letter to Bolaire. I think Murray actually has that now. He trained Wick on diction and speech. And in episode 3, he reluctantly took up Thiazi's old sword, the Liar's Blade. Wikander, when Wikander met Tior, he was amazed that someone who was not part of the Candescent Creed could cast light spells. Thank God they met. Wick learns that he has angel blood tattooed on his face. He learns that his grandfather, Atheon, is a 30-foot tall angel and he's descended from celestials. Thereby making him, and a change that I made was he's a sorcerer. You can't tell me he's not. He's a divine soul. You can't tell me he's not. And he's an Asimar or an Asimar. You can't tell me he's not. And he's on the table of the soldiers. Tyranny, she has siblings in enmity, cruelty, and agony. Tyranny's contract is with Wickander specifically and not the Halaver family. We see Tyranny in this really chaotic I'm a grenade in a china shop sort of feel, bull in a china shop sort of feel. And in the Via Aurora, she's much more reserved and much more uncomfortable. It's revealed that all the demons know about the chained angel. My current theory still is Tyranny really loves the innocence of Wick and is in love with him. But it's just not meant to be. Thimble. We learned that Thimble was a gift to Thiazi by Lady Aranessa. This is a custom in House Royce. She was with him during the Falconers Rebellion. When Thiazi died, it broke her heart. She spent the entire night of the Farum braiding his hair and spreading pixie dust around him so he glowed. And we know that she served with Cadigan, Azun, Teor, Thiazi, and the Torn Banner. And she has this cool thing right now, which I'm going to use this in one of my games because I have a bard in my game. She has, I think, a permanent bardic inspiration. And what that means is, here, let me just switch to this. What that means and what I think that means is as long as she doesn't use the bardic inspiration, that bardic inspiration grows in dice size along with Hal as he levels. Which is a cool little bit of world building that I think is or may have been looked over slightly. Bam. My current theory is at some point in time in this campaign, Thimble and Octus will ship. They're so sweet to each other. Like they're so sweet to each other because I think canonically, Thimble's about 18 and Octus is 18 or 20, and I think that itself is beautiful. If Octus survives, if Thimble survives, it'd be nice to have that reunion. On to Teor. Teor had a rough time in episode 3. Oh boy. Oh buddy. Oh buddy. He received the original Torn Banner when he cast Lay on Hands, the lion emblem at his hip, which is pictured up here. Let's get a full picture of him. Pictured up inside here. Glows with radiant light. He appears to be a social manipulator. My theory that he was a seeker was wrong. It's okay. I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm not meant to be right all the time, and that's all right. He uses an ability, Lay on Hands, and he gets tortured in episode 3 and is drugged. His species is actually called Nama. They're bespoke, yeah, but both he and his brother Sid are called Nama, so I'm calling their species Nama. His subclass is still unknown. It could be anything, but I think he's a devotion paladin. Bolaire, we don't know what his subclass is. It's still unknown. In fact, Bolaire hasn't cast a single spell or used a single ability yet. He's just living and vibing in the city. And he gets really angry when people repeat the same mistakes that he did. He's curator of the Loy Ring, so he actually has a job. He and Murray and Azune have jobs. Like jobs. I'm not saying Hal doesn't have a job, but Hal has a passion. These guys have a profession. And I'm going to get a lot of hate from people in the theater world on that. I get that. I get that. I get that. I get that. My current theory. Oh, he gave the paints to Bolaire, or to Hal. My current theory on Bolaire is when he moved his consciousness into the let's when he moved his consciousness into a dark box when he and Murray were looking at the coffin of Obalad. He whatever he saw in there had a little bit of deterioration. I think that he wanted the coffin of Obalad because Theozy said it had a mask inside of it, and he's looking for a mask to replace what I think is his real face inside that box, so that he can get his face back. I think he's trying to get his face out of that dimensional space. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, I also think that in the next episode, RC Cola is going to try to cut funding to the museum, putting Bolaire on edge. Murray works at the Penteveral as a bursar, which is essentially a bookkeep, and we learned that she was a squatter before working at the Penteveral. Murray's life was turned upside down when they tried to throw Tall Barrel away, and um, it was revealed that she's the one in episode 3 that came closest to death, which I think is wild. Um, Octus, he and Taisha spent weeks walking back from Venetis with the coffin of Obalad. Um, his family is necromancers. Octus is a sweet boy. He's a sweet boy with a friendly undead pet, who deserves nothing but good things in life. And I'll leave it at that. Cadigan Vale. I'm gonna say this. I think Cadigan Vale has PTSD to a certain extent. Living in the wild, coming close to death multiple times, his fighting inside the war. I think that Wulfric is not only his beast companion and a friend, but also like a service dog, who keeps an eye on him when he is getting to the point where the PTSD is taking over. We know that he uses a homemade weapon which resembles a club or a cudgel, with a Damascus blade on the opposite side and a notch that you can't quite figure out. My current theory on Wulfric is that he's a cursed brother, a friend, or a lover, and that Cadigan wants to free him. I think the bond of magic, I could be reading too far into this, but I think the bond of magic that is there is that specifically Cadigan. One that I saw that I also agree with, that I think is really cool, that happened in one of my comment threads. No, I saw this on Reddit, I think. Don't quote me on this because it's Reddit. Grain of salt. Is that Wulfric and Cadigan are soul swapped, which I think is a fascinating idea. Valus, she ended the night of the farm sitting outside watching like a gargoyle. She came in and saved Thimble, Octus, Cadigan, and Wulfric in the guard tower. She killed Solomon and a journeyman thief. And Valus forms a bond with Pin, which I think is fascinating and hints to, I think, part of her backstory that we haven't seen yet. And the quote that I get from Brennan that I love about this is it possible that dead things can still love us? Which makes me think my current theory that I have written down here is wrong. And my theory is I'll have a theory video out next Wednesday, and I'll talk about this more. But I think that kind of like Yasha, Valus has a love that was lost and is interested in trying to bring them back from the dead. Don't know. Azune Nayar. We know that Azune Nayar is a storm sorcerer. We know it. His paladin is so chances are he's a Paladin 2, Sorcerer 1. Um, and that's where his Wicked Eyes come from, because he is a Storm Sorcerer specifically. He was 15 or around 15 when he was in the Falconers Rebellion. He was given over to the Torn Banner before that as a second chance. It was pointed out by YouTube user Michael Van Elgort 3345 that Azune has taken the Blessed Warrior fighting style, giving him access to cleric cantrips, which a Paladin would not get, which is absolutely true. My current theory is that Azune will join up with Murray, and I think Bolaire as the RC Cola will most certainly mess with all their public services. And I think that, I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be correct so far. I think that they're going to be what I think is the brain freeze Seeker's Table, but I don't know yet. Julian went against the will of his family and the command of his father and hunted down Thiazi and turned him into the Sundered Houses. We know that he frequents the Tangled Sheet and is most definitely bisexual. He found Octus and brought him to Palazzo Divinos. He watched his father be assassinated in front of his eyes. And the ability that he has used so far is Tactical Mind, which is a level 2 feature of fighters. Thiazi Fang, we're going to get further and further away from Thiazi, but he's going to be kind of important. I don't think in the same way that like Mollymock was in Campaign 2, but as a central guiding figure of people who call back to him at certain times. We knew that he was separated from Lady Aranessa, but he kept the ring on a silver chain. Fought in the Falconers Rebellion. He was saved by Casimir. He was friendly with Cid Pridesire. Near the end of his life, he seemed to be collecting relics and artifacts that are connected to the underworld or the lands beyond death, which is fascinating. Fascinating. These are the NPCs of the houses specifically. We learned of Uncle Felonius, Wick's uncle Hunter and Keeper of Hounds. We learned of Cruelty, Agony, who are other demons. Cruelty is Cherry Lips, Silver Horns, and Gorgeous. And Agony is Spectacles, Blue Skin, and Clumsy AF. We learned of Rulius Markinod, one of the twins who run the Fit Check. He's a demon or something without a soul. And we learn of Calastro Mercanad, one of the twins who run the Fit Check shop. And I swear what Brennan described was a infernal engine. My dude, Calastro, has an infernal engine inside his brain, or for a brain, which is wild. In House Taconis, we learned of Primus Taconis and Ethren Taconis. In House Royce, we learned of Jahar, Elandria, and Mardonis. Those are all people from the Golden Orchard, which is where the Royce family has their palace. We learned Nameless Sorcerer. We learned of recently General Raymond Divinos, the father of Julian Divinos, and deceased. NPCs in Dol Machiar specifically, this list grew considerably. We learned more about Talsidmir Pridesire. He was a carriage driver for the Revolutionary Guard, specifically in Dol Machiar, and a friend of Thiazi. He was cast out of the Torn Banner for stealing things he did not own or have rights to steal, but was angry at Casimir for not providing the wagons, saw the gear upgrade, and then stole the deed to the Gormalay Stronghouse and ran away. We know now that Casimir was the break in the link. It's the chain, the broken link in the chain. He was skimming the books from the Crow Keepers and was given a certain amount of time to make it right, and he raided the Flop House to make it happen. And is the plot point specifically for the Soldier's Table. We learned of Norma, who is a metal as hell dwarven cleric of the Torn Banner, or medics most specifically. We learned of Lucia, a soldier in the Torn Banner. Ellippides, Tall Barrel, ex-Dean of the Pentaveral. Friend of Murray. Murray doesn't think he's a friend, though. Gallant, who's a halfling grad student. Cora, who's a dwarven Dean of the Pentaveral, and in the pocket of the Sundered Houses, or in a snake with pockets. I love her Malifaux. They're so good. They're so good. We learned of Madame Gorlistra, the Madame of the Tangled Sheet, an old gnomish woman. Gavri, second in command of the Crow Keepers. Solomon, Guildmaster of the Crow Keepers, dead. We met Uli, an old orc who's 85, who remembers the time of the rebellion against the Shapers and the time before the Shapers War specifically. And we met Inez Roundtree, an older orcish woman, keeping watch over the home while Thiazi is in his farm. I added tables. And so our tables, the soldiers will be heading out of town to track down Casimir, and if they are lucky, find Sid. They are heading to Timony, to the city of Gormley. I think it's a city? I think it's a city. All the soldiers' common threads is they cannot be in Dol Makyar anymore since they were too close to Thiazi or have crossed a major family. The soldiers are Thimble, Teor, Cadigan, Wick, and Tierney. Seekers are a guess. I think the Seekers are going to be the ones who are their livelihood is being screwed around by RC Cola, and that's going to be Azune, Murray, Bolaire, and Hal, I think. These are safe bets as far as I'm concerned. Why they're doing this? Probably not a safe bet. The safe bet is the table arrangements. And the schemers, they're knee deep in betrayal. Their common thread is cloak and dagger assassination attempt on House Royce. Julian, obvious reasons. Octus, obvious reasons. Valus, Taconis has the Stone of the Night Song right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Taconis has the Stone of the Night Song, and Valus is going to want that back. And Taisha, who must protect Octus, and that's why she's going there. Go ahead and shut that down. We'll pull up our magic items. My magic items in errata has really changed. This was recommended indirectly that I make this a more blown up space, and there's a lot to cover inside there. I mean, and there's going to be more and more as we sort of get named magical items more and more figured out. So we'll kind of go from there, I think. First up is artifact levels. The artifact level things are so insanely powerful that they could be considered relics in and of themselves. First among many is the Coffin of Obalad. The wood mostly fossilized comes from the wastes, and that's a place where Salandri died. She was the shaper of life. The ruins are a combination of ancient Kessian and celestial and give a ransom note feel as the plates were taken from holy places and placed to give word combinations new meanings. This is the Coffin of Obalad, the Sister of Mists, the halfling celestial of death. Obalad was a celestial and a psychopomp, which just means that they took people from the land of the living to the land of the dead. And when the coffin is open, thick mists fills it. If you try to insert anything into it, there is no bottom to that mist, which is fascinating. So fascinating. We have the Stone of Night Song. My theory on this was wrong, and that's okay. It's still going to be a quest line for Valus. It is currently in the hands... Oh, I didn't update this. That's on me, too. I'll get that updated as soon as I can. It's currently in the hands of House Tacomas. It's actually in Palazzo Divinos right now. And then the Pariah Blades were swords crafted by the Loy family to defeat Osgra the Conqueror, Shaper of War, and they're well crafted. And the craftsmanship on it makes it feel like they are sorry, parched. The craftsmanship on it makes it feel like they absorb light, or maybe absorb divinity, and I think that's kind of cool. Powerful items. We don't know much about Bolaire's mask, but it's obviously a powerful magical item. Obviously. And then we just learned about the Liar's Blade, which was given to Hal by Wick. This sword was wielded by Thiazi and wrought by the Loys. And it is a sword that had a massive piece of paper attached to it, where the fuller meets the handle before the tang. There looks to be a face smiling with its tongue out, which is interesting. We haven't had any new unidentified items. Unless I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong on that one, and we'll get it updated. I've added the Shapers to the errata. They were divine beings who ruled the world of Ahriman for a millennia. Some were good and some were evil. And when the orcs rose up against Asra the Conqueror, the rest of the Shapers banded against the mortals in protection of their evil brother. Sequentially, starting with Asgara, the gods were killed upon their death, with Salandri being the last one to fall. Um, when the Shapers died, Celestials of the world, who were their servants, went feral. And so most were killed within months of the war. If one was left alive, it spelled certain doom for the entire region. A note that I want to add is we have found 2 Celestials so far, and the dead body of another one. So Obalad was a Celestial, and is now missed inside a box. And that's dangerous. Atheon is a chained feral angel, and I really think that thing's going to escape the House Halcyon, the Candescent Creed, and run amok inside the city. And the Stone of Night Song is the dead body of a Celestial who died in the Shapers' War. The known Shapers are Asgard the Conqueror, Shaper of War. He held dominion over Kahad and the Orcs within. He was the first to fall, and thanks to the efforts of the Loy family and their creation of the Pariah Blades. Salandri, the Green Mother, Shaper of Life, held dominion over the lands of elves, and upon her death, the realm was struck with death and decay, becoming the Wastes. Tansul, Shaper of the Sun, held dominion over the human lands of Oberdemia. Upon his death, the realm was cast into eternal darkness. Rawan, the Trickster, held dominion over halflings. That's all that we really know about Shapers, as far as I know. The Shapers' War started 70 years ago on the Orcs of Kahad with the help of the Lowy family. Killed their god, who was ruining the world and using them to conquer it. And as the rest of the Shapers and their servants, the Celestials, joined up with each other, the mortal world was mostly banded together to fight what they saw was unjust gods who did not protect the people who worshipped them, but instead protected their evil brother. Upon their death, antithetical effects descended upon the regions that they held dominion over: eternal night in Oberdemia, death and decay in the lands of the elves. So when we think about Stormwrack, I think it's eternal storms for a god who kept ships with good winds, things like that. It is currently believed that all Shapers and Celestials are killed, and I had to add, or contained. The War of Axe and Vine, I don't really know enough about this, but that was 30 years ago, 30-ish years ago, before the campaign. Thiazi fought in it, Hal fought in it, and Thiazi saved the life of a House Divino member. In the Falconers Rebellion, a small war that ended 12 years before the beginning of the campaign, and 2 years after Thiazi and Lady Aranessa were wed. The war was primarily fought between the Sundered Houses and the people who thought they were taking too much power and creating a world that was too close to the one their grandfathers and grandmothers fought to free the world from. That's a complicated thing to say, but it really sounds like the Falconers Rebellion was just they noticed that the Sundered Houses were starting to take power away from the Revolutionary Council, and rose up to stop them because they saw them as unjust people trying to become new gods themselves, essentially, or on the societal power of a demigod. It is implied that House Divinos joined Thiazi in this fight, while Royce joined the Sundered Houses. If they did not fight, they at least did not help House Royce. And the Torn Banner was the primary mercenary company in this fight, and was forced to disband at the end of the rebellion as part of their agreement for clemency. Oh, I don't think I was done in there. Let's check it out. Oh, I was. Excellent. Chapter 5, the plot to free Thiazi. We know the entire thing right now. Mark was supposed to be put in the back, illusion and conjuration, but Casimir messed it all up. He didn't supply the smuggler's cart, and he's the one who invaded with the Crow Keepers and raided the Flop House. Because that happened, The old wagon was never provided by Casimir. Sid never got the wagon in the right spot. Taisha and Octus never whisked Thiazi away. Um, this, because it's narratively this way, this was just bound to fail, but it's interesting to find out why it failed. Um, I don't have a city layout yet, so if anyone has one, or uh, wants to make one, I think I'd love to know how Dol Makyar is kind of set out. I think we'll get one eventually. I kind of hope Devin Rue is making one of these because she makes great maps, and she's been doing a lot of their maps for them. The world map, I'm still waiting on the world map. Loose ends. Murray has the letter now. Hal has the paint. Casimir betrayed the group. We don't know why Thiazi was collecting psychopomps. We know that the demons work for their master to further the ends of House Halavar to get more souls and filament. Taconis is necromancers, which means that every time someone dies, their house gains power. We don't know what the RC Cola is doing still, and we'll probably find that out with the Seekers. Royce did find Octus before Primus did, but I think it's what essentially put their house in danger. Casimir stole from Thiazi, sold things to Taconis, and fled after Sid heading north to Timony. Sid stole the deed for a stronghold from Casimir and fled. I didn't really update the bird references, but that's all that I got. This is much less lore. In fact, I think that overall, the lore really has been dropping off in intensity now that we're almost entirely through the overture. And I think that this lore video will get smaller, and this lore document will get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, or less intense to make every week. We know that after the overture is done, we'll have a week off. When we get back from that week off, we will step into the soldiers table. So with that knowledge in hand, I'll update this again after 4, and then we'll start keeping this updated for every episode, every single episode. And I hope some of you guys come along for the ride. It was just Thursday, and what a game it was. And I'm so glad that you guys are here to let me make videos like this. This is bringing me a lot of joy. So have a good day or a good night.